Do you think the fiscal space of the government, Mr. Joshi, is on solid enough grounds? And what do you think are some of the reasons for it? Is it that the benefits of GST are now being seen? We are seeing that buoyancy. We are seeing, 1.72 lakh crores coming in every single month from GST. Is that the reason for it? Is it the fact that we didn't do a major demand push during the pandemic? What accounts for it?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one is that the economy itself is doing well. So when the economy does well, the tax collections are also buoyant. The second is the compliance in taxes has improved, I think, as was being pointed out, particularly with respect to GST. But the bigger story is the direct tax collections. I think the personal income tax collections, etc., have grown much faster than what was anticipated. And that's a result of, I think, digitalization and all those, I think, being able to capture a lot of people. So all that is paying off, and tax collections doing better than expected always gives government a fiscal space. Second, I think the government's strategy, particularly post the pandemic. During the pandemic, they had to do a lot of welfare spend. But as soon as the pandemic ended, they very quickly switched to capital expenditure. And particularly in the last budget, the capex was increased quite significantly, and that too into infrastructure areas. So clearly, the focus is more on creating productive capacity for the economy through the budget, and not so much on firing the consumption, which typically becomes inflationary in nature if pursued for a longer period of time. So clearly, I think that pragmatism has helped the economy grow a little faster than what was expected. By the way, the economic survey in 2023, January, had said economy will grow at 6.5%. That looked very optimistic at that time, but actually the numbers tell us that it actually grew faster than that at probably 7.3%. So the economy's, the pragmatic choices, as well as I think the ability of the economy to face global shocks quite resiliently, I think all that has helped. And I think that has also helped, because once the growth is good, your fiscal space is created. But having said that, I think don't forget that we used to have a fiscal deficit to GDP target of 3%, I think, in the FRBM a couple of years back. Now we are quite distant from that. In fact, government has set itself a target of fiscal deficit at 4.5% of GDP by 25-26, and we have to be on that glide path. What it means is that you will have to reduce the fiscal deficit to GDP ratio in the next, in the coming fiscal and the next one by 140 basis points. So if you take that path as given, then the fiscal space reduces. So you have to become even more rational in your spending decisions. So government right now would not like to take the pedal off the capital expenditure because private investment is not fully broad-based. But how they do it and how they maintain fiscal balance, I think that is what I would be looking for in the budget.
All right. In addition to that, before you go, just any specific reform measures. There's always an unfinished agenda, and there is clearly an unfinished agenda also right now whether it comes to ease of doing business, what more has to be done in infrastructure, other places. What are some of the areas you would like the government to talk about? Unfinished agenda, something that you think they should say, we will try and fix now, going forward?
Well, I think the number one is a focus on employment, which essentially means how they are going to get more people to participate in the growth process via skilling, etc. That's very important. Second, I think thing I would like to focus on, like to hear about is the climate change is a big issue now. And with that, I think what is our plan on energy transition, and how are we planning to do that without hurting the growth prospects? Because the moment you focus on infrastructure development, manufacturing, you also become more energy intensive. So clearly, I think that's the second thing for which is very important for sustainability of growth. And the third thing, which I think which is in the order of a reform, would be what are you going to do to push private investments up? Private investment environment is extremely good right now because the balance sheets are healthy. for banks as well as for the corporates. The capacity utilization is high. PLI is also helping, but still we are not seeing an animal spirits-based revival of private investment. For that, I think the compliance costs need to be reduced, stability in tax regime, all those reforms which will allow the government to take its foot off the investment pedal and pass the baton to the private corporate sector. I think that these are the three things I think are very critical